Hey everyone, Enrique here. Welcome to another review. We almost at the end, people. We're about to conclude this season of X-Men 97 and we're two episodes to go. This one in particular, since this is part of the almost finale of this season. So let's talk about it. Episode 8 from season 2, The Deadman's Hand. So by the time you probably hear this review, the show or the season has already ended. So I'm not gonna give any spoilers in this video if you haven't watched the finale, but I will try to give my perspective on that. But most importantly, I'm gonna keep the focus on what is happening in this episode and my thoughts in regards to what this could mean for not just the finale, but also for season 3. So, with all that being said, let's take a look at The Dead Man's Hand. So the episode starts, honestly enough, with a dream sequence in which Rogue dreams about that night where the Wild Sentinel attacked Genosha, where they were doing that big ball and she was dancing with Magneto. Well, in this case, she imagines the dance sequence but without Magneto. And all that she can see is Gambit looking at her, and this leads to a dance sequence in which Rogue can kiss and touch Remi without absorbing him or killing him, feeling the first time that she is with him, but it's obviously not real. Then, as Gambit speaks in her dream, he adopts the horseman look of death. It tells her some things are deeper than skin, and as he touches her, she starts to be enveloped into the purple energy that makes things explode. You know, like Gambit says in Deadpool and Wolverine, you touch the car and it goes boom boom, and that's what happened. Something that she feels like it's going to happen in the future, but in this case, she wakes up and ends up thinking what this could all mean. As she plays cards with the other X-Corp members, with Cyclops, Jean, Beast, Nightcrawler, and Professor X, we see them pretty much playing cards similar to how Remi would play cards in that case. Beast coined something in which the dead man's hand could be something that could be at play for this episode. I didn't exactly pay attention because I'm not a card person. Hell, I got a game of cards in my friend's birthday with a piñata, and even I don't know how to play cards here. I just know that they're just cool cards that you can play with your friends. Although I'm not a betting person, so I don't think this could help me in any case. But going back to the review, as they play, they receive an alert from X Force, in particular with Cable and with Jubilee, since they are warning them about what is going on and they are arriving at X Corp's building. They bring the Apocalypse's corpse, in which it is confirmed that Apocalypse in that body is already dead, meaning that something happened to him in which he ended up like that. It's presumed that he died, but they are not sure, and they have seen Apocalypse be resurrected many times before, so this could be something even more afloat. In any case, we see some of the members reunite. We see Jubilee give them the card, one of the cards that Gambit had in Genosha, in which Rogue starts to question what this could all mean. What if Remi is alive? And that what could she think of all this? She doesn't know what to do, and all the while, Nightcrawler is consoling her. And during that time, we see both Cable as well as Cyclops and Jean reuniting, trying to figure out everything, especially after everything that they had been through and what this that they could do now that they know each other. This is all things that I like to see. It's more of the Summers family and drama and how they could all be resolved together. And with another, I just want to add another member, which I'm not gonna say at this moment who, but I'll tell later in the video. So now that they have found out that Remy is alive, they are now finding a way to find out where he is. So he has come back to New Orleans, and this brings to a circle to a moment that we saw, or an episode that we saw in the original series. I bring a lot of the original series back for continuity, but that's pretty much when it comes when you're an X-Men fan, a Marvel fan like me, and I always tend to circle around the things that happened in the past. But yeah, it seems that Remy has come back into the past to see his old members, his old friends from the thief side and the assassin side. If you recall the episode Externally Yours, you see that Remy's past pretty much was that he was in the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild was a group of thieves that were stealing things for the external, in which they give it to it alongside the assassins, another guild in which they give the offerings to the external, and depending on the outcome, one of them either dies or one of them, or even both, get upgrades. It was an entire episode that revealed the backstory for Remy LeBeau. We saw introductions of his brother Bobby, but more importantly, his old flame Belladonna. So we see them back in this episode. They're still in the same sides, despite the fact that they all assisted to Remy's funeral when he died. But now things are different. Now that he has been resurrected, he pretty much uses his cards now to possess his brother, his ex-girlfriend, all the thieves and assassins guilds into being his pawns. And he concocts a scheme into attacking the X-Men. And that's what we see happen. As we see the team traveling to New Orleans, they are attacked by Remy and its forces. They manage to capture Rogue and Nightcrawler. In fact, Remy uses his card to possess Nightcrawler, and unfortunately for Rogue, she cannot touch him and absorb everything of his powers. Recall that one of the things that allow Archangel to be free from Apocalypse's mind control was the fact that Rogue used her absorbing powers to pretty much absorb the majority of the mutant genetics in Archangel, allowing him to wake up and go after Apocalypse. However, this is not simple. As she touches Remy, something happened, and it's not explained why, but it pretty seems that when he got resurrected, something happened into his body that prevented him from being absorbed, or that his powers get absorbed by Rogue. In any case, Remy feels, or in this case, the Dead Gambit, as I like to call him, instead of torturing Rogue or even punishing her for her relationship with Magneto, he actually wants to marry her. He explains the backstory for Rogue, that a few millions of years ago, when Apocalypse became Apocalypse, he fell in love with the External. And the External, as we saw in the episodes 3 and 4 of the Rise of Apocalypse, when she was the assistant or the psychic of Raman Tugh, aka Kang the Conqueror, she was offered a piece of jewelry that Apocalypse had in order to make her a horseman. But she betrayed Apocalypse and thus took away the crystal with her, and thus becoming the External as we know it. Well, the plan for Gambit is simple: to use the wedding in order to summon the external, take away the jewel, and give it to Rogue. And that's exactly what happens. As they use some of the thieves and assassin skills in their possession, as well as Nightcrawler, Rogue decides to oblige, and starts to getting married to Gambit. Gambit kills the external, takes away the jewel, and is about to give it to Rogue when the X-Men arrive. And that's where everybody starts fighting, both the assassins and the Thieves Guild. And they also see a fight scene with Nightcrawler, the possessed one, start to fight his comrades. All the while, Gambit uses the jewel in order and gives it to Rogue, in which she's bonded with the crystal. All we see the teams trying to knock down all the pawns, all the possessed members. Where we see Charles Xavier using his powers to knock Gambit down, which it works. Unfortunately, this is where it's revealed that the reason why X-Force is helping the X-Men in this case, it's because they have the plan to kill Gambit, because they believe if you kill Gambit, then you kill Apocalypse. It turns out that Apocalypse put his consciousness into Gambit's body, and now he's using him as a horseman of death, and he wants to use him as his new vessel, his new body vessel, and use it to conquer the world as always. The X-Men, of course, stop Nathan and the others to do so. Jubilee and Sunspot defect as well to the X-Men. And all the while we see Xavier fighting Apocalypse in their mind battle. We see that Rogue with the power of the crystal, manages to help Remi and gain control of his body, but the only problem is that Apocalypse is still inside. So they manage to partially help him and de-exorcise him, and that is something that unfortunately makes Cable upset, because the goal is to kill Apocalypse after everything that he has done. But the X-Men they manage to unpossess Gambit. The Nightcrawler gets unpossessed as well, so they all take off. And this ends with the X-Men pondering, especially Charles, on what they can do to help Gambit and to purge the Apocalypse from his body. And the episode ends with the three members of X-Force, Cable, Psylocke, and Archangel, meeting with the X-Factor team, especially Val Cooper, and they decide to make an alliance in order to, kill Remi LeBeau and stop Apocalypse. So, let's talk about what this entire episode revolves around, and that is Gambit as not only the Horseman of Death, but as a new vessel for Apocalypse. So, it's good to see Gambit back again. It's good to see that they fulfill part of what we saw in the comics of Gambit becoming the new Horseman of Apocalypse. The one thing I didn't understand is that why Apocalypse doesn't have any more horsemen, because the idea is supposed to be that Apocalypse has a lot of horsemen at his disposal, that he uses the mutants that he either resurrects or partially converts into his side and turns them into his horsemen of the Apocalypse. That's his whole MO. But we don't see that. Only Gambit gets resurrected, and he only uses him as a vessel for his powers. I mean, obviously Gambit is very powerful on its own. The fact that he can turn everything into an explosive whenever he touches something is impressive on its own, but why only him? And more, come to think of it, why use him as a vessel, especially, and what was the plan of Apocalypse? That's something that I never wondered. I mean, Obviously, it's pretty much a criticism of this episode and for the finale. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. But why is Apocalypse doesn't have, more people at his disposal? And why only uses Gambit as his vessel and not completely take over? Well, it shows that he hasn't completely taken over the body of Remi, but it shows that he has some measure of control. In any case, Gambit has a new set of powers that he managed to use with his cards. The cards that he uses, instead of being, the poker cards, it instead becomes like those prediction cards, the Tower, the Lover, Death, all those that you see soothsayers using for, to tell the fortune of a person. Well, he uses them to possess a lot of people. Nightcrawler, his brother Bobby, Belladonna, the Thieves and Assassins Guild. This is a new set of powers that we haven't seen before, and this is probably mostly because of Apocalypse. But one of the things that I don't see is, Remi using his powers of explosions to kill people, because that's one of his sets. The idea is supposed to be that if he's a horseman of death, that he goes and destroys things. I have to admit, it's pretty cool to see him back, but I wish they could do a lot more. But in the finale, especially with such a short time, they barely do much. Also, and this is a nitpick in that regard, I wish they would have used, the comic book version of the Horsemen and Gambit into this series, and they partially use that, but not completely, not fully at least. So that's one of my issues. So, what about Rogue now that she learns about Gambit and his resurrection? Well, one of the things that a lot of people have mentioned, that this technically means that both Gambit and Rogue are, for lack of a better word, married. This happened in the comics later on in the Krakoa era, but this is a different way of, marry the two because, well, this is pretty much the doing of Apocalypse, in which he wants to use Rogue for his own means, but man, this is a different way of marrying the two most famous couple in comic books, especially in X-Men lore. But I gotta say, if they are married, this is a crazy way to get married. You can call that a shotgun wedding, if you will. But now let's revert to some of the members, in particular with Cable and his relationship with both Cyclops and Jean. So obviously, it is good to see that Cable is having some moments with both Scott and Jean after everything they went through, not only in the first season but also in the first two episodes of the season. But definitely, it shows that Cable has changed all those years because his mindset, his goals have reverted to, being a soldier. That the mission is more important than anything else. This reminds me a lot of how they handle Cable in Deadpool 2. If you recall, in Deadpool 2, the whole mission of Cable in that movie was to kill a kid named Russell because he believes that he's going to turn evil and he's going to cause a lot of deaths in the future, in particular his family. And he goes back in order to get revenge and stop that young kid Russell into becoming, a monster. And because of that, the actions of Deadpool, he manages to change the future. But in this case, it's the same mindset here. Cable only has one goal, and that is to kill Remi LeBeau before he becomes engulfed with the power of Apocalypse, and Apocalypse resurrects in Gambit's body. And we see the conflict pretty much at the end of the episode, how much he is willing to go through anything and lie to his parents in order to fulfill his mission. We see how how it makes him angry, but it feels like he's a man of duty. But that's pretty much what he has always been raised, because has raised by the Ascani clan, believing that he's the only one who can stop Apocalypse, which is something I'm gonna revert to into the finale when I talk about it. What else did we saw in this episode? We saw Charles Xavier once again having his problems with Apocalypse, using his powers to help Remi, but also having a sense of, you know, darkness glooming over him. Not only because Apocalypse killed, Magneto, but also because of the torture that he was put through because of Apocalypse. And this is something that I will talk about in the finale, but a lot of people have said and speculated that this is leading to Xavier having a dark side in the next season. That his dark side is about to be consumed, and that most likely is going to make him do things that he hasn't done before. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about what is gonna happen when I get to the finale, but needless to say, it is making it's making Xavier feel a little bit dark, a little bit more angry, but not completely. He still manages to contain his cool whenever he faces Apocalypse, and what he's managing to do to Remi, which is helping him. Now, let's talk about what is going on now that the finale we saw, or what we saw in the ending scene. Now, X Factor and X Force, or the three members of X Force, are now joining forces in order to stop Apocalypse from resurrecting, and is making everybody pretty much creating this little civil war in the X-Men universe, and the 97, of course, into fighting each other, all in an effort to stop a Apocalypse, but also to kill Gambit. And the X-Men are there to pretty much take a stand against the government and X Factor and X Force in particular. So, what does this all mean for the finale? Well, like I said, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's going to lead to a lot of fractures and sacrifices that we're about to witness in this episode. That's all I can say. So, what is my thoughts on this episode in particular, as a whole? Well, I like the fact that I got to see Gambit. We get to see a lot of action sequences with him, but I just wish we could see him more as the horseman of Apocalypse, and we saw a little bit of more people being resurrected. That's just my opinion. And I feel like this is more of a Remi LeBeau or Gambit Rogue focus episode. And I feel like it could have been a little bit longer. I feel like that's one of my complaints about these episodes of X-Men, that they need to be a little bit longer, like they should allow more minutes, more time for the characters to shine, to grow. I know that short times is normal for running times, but I feel like they could do a lot more. It's just when you're making a show as big as the X-Men, they need to expand a little bit, go a little bit crazy with its ideas and with the stories of the characters. I personally would have wished to see more of Cable interacting with Cyclops and Jean, just my opinion. Maybe see a little bit more of the mindset of Gambit as a horseman. Maybe we see other horsemen making appearances, challenging the X-Men, because I feel like that's one of the few things that we need to see more. Just, that's all my thoughts, and that's something that I'm gonna touch upon in the finale. But hey, I still recommend this episode if you're a Remi LeBeau fan. And hey, we got to see him be resurrected and partially be an exercise of Apocalypse. But it's not over yet. And that's one of the things that we're going to see next week when I talk about the finale. And you'll see my whole thoughts display and what this could mean for season 3 and beyond. So that's all my thoughts for now. What do you guys think about Deadman's hand? Do you like the episode? Do you find it problematic as I find it here? Or do you have your own speculations? In any case, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. So, I've been Enrique, and I'll see you soon. Peace.